Oh, here it is,
Welcome
yeah.
to Conversations with Barbara. I'm Barbara Canelopoulos, and we're another Falmouth fall, and that means that soon we'll be having a town meeting. The fall town meeting is in a couple of weeks. And with me today is Grant Walker, who has a petition for an article he cares very deeply about. And so we will talk about that right now. So thanks for coming to the program, Grant. And
You're welcome, Barbara.
We are going to tell our viewers about the stretch code,
Yeah.
which you are hoping to see passed at the fall town meeting.
Yeah, it's Article 18 on Falmouth Town Meeting. Town meeting first night is November the 12th, Tuesday at the Lawrence School. Right. And the stretch code is going to be, if Falmouth chooses to adopt it, part of the required building code in the town. We already have an energy code that's part of the building code, but the stretch code will ask us to achieve a higher level of energy efficiency in all of our new construction. It's only new construction. It doesn't apply to additions and renovations, remodeling, and so on.
So I can see then why it's called the stretch code, because it stretches those requirements a little bit.
Yeah, we've got to reach up a little higher.
You're right.
And it's quite possible. Some talk about the energy efficiency that's already required by the current energy code, as if that's so high that we cannot do much more. But 273 towns and cities all across Massachusetts have adopted the stretch code. So apparently builders are finding a way to do a little bit more than the current base code requires.
Right, and on Cape Cod, we have towns already that have adopted the stretch code.
Absolutely.
Right.
10 of the 15 towns on Cape Cod have adopted it. Falmouth is one of 5 that have not yet adopted it. Yeah.
Right. So I think the worry is I'm trying to think of one of the reasons why people would oppose the stretch code, and it may be the little bit of extra cost. But I think you can explain that that's not as burdensome as one might think.
Well, there undoubtedly is going to be some extra cost. Nothing's free, and this is a great value, energy efficiency in many respects, so I don't think we should expect it to be free. But the extra cost is really small compared to the total cost of the whole house.
Right.
I mean, in North Falmouth right now, there are townhomes advertised for over $700,000. And the extra cost of the stretch code might be as much as $3,000 on average, given the analysis that the Department of Energy and Resources, Energy Resources has done. So that's a real tiny fraction of something like $700,000. And there are rebates from the utilities.
Right.
You put in super efficiency boilers for heating and domestic hot water, real good insulated windows, adequate ventilation, and control or seal off the leaks in the ductwork so you're not wasting heat and energy that you're paying for.
Sure.
For all that energy efficiency equipment, you get rebates from the utilities.
Yeah.
So, and after those rebates, on average, the $3,000 comes out to a little more than $1,000 extra in the purchase price. And if you have a 10% mortgage, that means you're going to have a little bit more than $100 in your added to your down payment, just $100 or so. And your monthly mortgage payments are going to be $8, $9 more. So it's not a whole lot of money for the investment that you're getting with the efficiency. Yeah.
And so people might think, or town meeting members might think, that it's much more costly than it really is. And I understand that the stretch code is only different. It's different from the basic code that we have now in that the analysis is of the entire house and
Yes.
its efficiency rather than individual parts.
Yes, it's rather than requiring that builder to put this kind of window in everywhere or to put this kind of furnace in every house or something like that. The whole idea of the stretch code is to say, you make the choices, Mr. Builder. You choose what to put in, but you got to achieve a certain level of energy efficiency. And there are many different ways to do that. And for example, now the stretch code has 3 different paths that the builder can take. Choose whichever one he or she likes. The home energy rating system path, the Energy Star path, or the passive house path. Now the passive house is the most demanding. The whole idea of the passive house is that even without renewable energy, you hardly need any additional energy at all. The house is sealed so tight and ventilated so well, and the windows and everything are all fitted so nicely, and the ductwork is all sealed, and the windows face south to get that sunlight in the wintertime. Overhanging awnings or whatever rooftops that give you the shade of the higher sitting sun during the summertime. So your cooling bills are not so, for air conditioning, not so high in the summer, heating bills not so high in the winter. But you don't have to take that path. You can take the easier path.
But really, with a passive house, I think common parlance for that kind of thing is it's a smart house. That's incredible. What an intelligent way to build a house.
Yeah. When you think about it, it just doesn't make sense if you're building a brand new house today to do anything but achieve as much energy efficiency as you can. Save yourself money for all the gas and heat and electricity or oil, whatever you're spending it on to heat up and cool your house. Over the years you're going to live there, and you're living there, and your construction of the house will result in far fewer greenhouse gas emissions. And we know that we've got to take that step. We have got to stop warming up this planet. And we can do that. We can do that with energy efficiency. That's a big part of it.
Yes. We are hearing more and more about what is going on with climate change. And as you pointed out earlier, it isn't that these are warnings, it's happening right now.
Oh yeah, all around the world. People are dying. People are being injured. Their homes are being destroyed. I mean, look at what's happening in California right now with the fires, and other parts of the world that have had terrible droughts or floods. The extreme weather events are more common, more widespread. It is happening now. And so we're talking about the houses and the shops and the stores also, because the stretch code applies to commercial buildings also.
Oh, it does.
Yeah. If they're big, they have to be really big here in Massachusetts for the stretch code to apply to them. But if you're building new structures, go for energy efficiency. It's the smart thing to do, the safe thing to do.
It does make sense. Now, if somebody is planning on putting on, say, an in-law apartment on a house, does that, would the stretch code cover that as well? Not
as a requirement, no. All additions and renovations are exempt from the stretch code here in Massachusetts. So you can do that, and you simply have to comply with the current, what we call the base energy code.
The base energy code. But it makes sense to be as zero energy as you can.
If you can do that, it does make a lot of sense in the long run. If you plan to be in the house for a while or to have that accessory apartment for a while,
Now, this has been before town meeting before. What do you think is the opposition to this? Why hasn't it? I know you care deeply about having it passed here,
Yeah.
but what would be some of the arguments against it?
Well, once upon a time, many years ago, there was a really big difference between the base energy code and the stretch energy code. So that the stretch energy code, when it came in, it demanded a great deal more than the then current base energy code. And it did require a lot more money up front in the initial purchase. But those differences were almost eliminated. The stretch is still a stretch, but it's a much shorter stretch over and above what's already required by the base code. And the last time we debated the stretch code at town meeting here in Falmouth, I think that the impression was created that a lot of the more demanding features of the then current base code were somehow going to be the new requirements of the stretch code. They were relatively new then as parts of the base code, but they were talked about, and people became, I think, in the meeting somewhat concerned about them, and that's understandable, as if they were new, but they were already required of all new construction in the base code. That was a tighter ceiling of the house, whole house ventilation, mechanical ventilation, clear duct ceiling so that air doesn't escape from your heating air conditioning system in the house. And of course, if it's escaping, you're just spending money that you're wasting.
That's right.
If it's leaking out everywhere. And insulation. In that meeting, people were talking about stacks of insulation in the house, which that's a totally incorrect image of insulation.
Yes, right.
So I think a lot of people got afraid of the stretch code. And in all honesty, it is my opinion that a few builders who spoke out against the stretch code at that time had a tremendous amount of influence because they're respected people.
Oh, yes.
They're trusted people here in the community. And when you think about it, why should a builder love a new change in the regulations? Part of the stress, I would imagine, I'm not a builder, I don't have any experience as a builder, but I have to imagine if in your profession, every couple of years, you had to deal with a new set of regulations that you had to comply with if you wanted to build in a given town or a given state, that after a while that would kind of wear on you.
Oh, so
changing, you have to get a new book of rules every couple of years.
Right.
But that's what Massachusetts and really the whole country is committed to.
Yes.
We're moving towards higher energy efficiency.
Yes, the basic code is moving more and more closer so that, let's say that it's inevitable that eventually the basic code will be the stretch code, that there will be as demanding.
That's what people in Massachusetts are saying. Today's stretch code will be tomorrow's base code.
Yes.
And so the base code will come up and the stretch code will keep coming up probably over time.
Right.
And as I said before, there's two purposes that has. It's going to save homeowners and businesses money as they live in their homes and as they operate their businesses over the years, and it's going to result in a reduction of our greenhouse gas emissions.
Yes, which is really, we know, is critical, really critical.
Yeah.
Think of how much energy can be saved in our schools. I know that efforts are being made to see that they're energy efficient, but it seems to me that more could be done.
Oh, yes. Another aspect that might take us to is what are called the green community grants.
Yes.
The stretch code is one of 5 things that a town has to do to become eligible for those Massachusetts Green Community Grants. And Falmouth, we've already done the other 4. One of the four other ones is to have a plan for reducing municipal use of energy, fossil fuel energy. We have that. That needs a little updating now, but we've done all the other 3. All we've got to do is update number 4, and then number 5, adopt a stretch code. If we do that, adopt a stretch code, we will be designated an official green community in Massachusetts. And that means right off the bat, in our very first year with that designation, we'll get $125,000 plus an additional amount based on the number of people in our population and our average income in the town. Other towns are getting, $150,000 to $200,000 in their first year, other towns of our size. And every year thereafter, we, as all the other towns that are green community towns, will be eligible to apply for additional grants each year for energy efficiency upgrades. Now, that could mean a lot to the schools. That could mean a lot to all of our taxpayer dollar expenditures here in Falmouth, because I guess a couple $100,000 a year is not a great deal compared to the whole town budget, but it probably could take care of a teacher salary and fringe benefits. It could probably take care of a police officer or an emergency medical person. It could free up our tax dollars to do a lot of things.
It certainly can. And so that becoming a green community is really quite an advantage if your article is passed at town meeting. And I think that's why the stretch code is an investment that will have compounded beneficial results. Because with the stretch code, we will get a reduction in greenhouse gases from new construction. We will get money saved for all those homeowners in new houses and all those business owners in their new shops or new stores, if they're the kind that apply, the larger shops and stores. And then, in addition to those savings, we will save money as a town in our municipal spending, because if we need a new boiler in the school, a new air conditioning system at police headquarters, those kinds of things, a new energy efficient vehicle, maybe an electric vehicle, we can apply for grants for those. Oh, that's wonderful. And there is a lot of talk now about having some of our departments having a electric vehicle. So that the conversation is now about that. It would seem to me too that builders will have an advantage too. If there's a builder who is inspired to create build as efficiency to zero energy, why then he is not going to be left out because he'll have to compete with other builders.
Absolutely.
So I think what you would say, it gives builders a level playing field.
It does give builders a level playing field, and I think it does more for builders than that. It also gives them a marketing tool. So many, especially young home buyers, I think, are looking for, are interested in, and do want to live in energy efficient homes. Climate and global warming kinds of issues, as well as cost saving on utilities, mean a great deal to them. So builders who can advertise their products, the houses they build, as meeting a third-party certified energy efficient house, like the stretch code certified house, I think that gives them a kind of a marketing advantage. So it levels the playing field.
Yes, it does.
And it gives them an advantage too. And even the builders here in Falmouth who have spoken out against the stretch code have said that they have built stretch code compliant houses because some of their customers want that. They describe them as more high-end customers. But the point is, those builders are familiar with this stretch code.
Right.
They know what they have to do to comply with it. They have done that.
So really, it's not an onerous regulation.
It doesn't appear to be.
Right.
I mean, as I said earlier, 273 of the 351 municipalities
Right.
in Massachusetts have already passed the stretch code. Builders must be doing pretty well in
Yes,
all those places.
yes.
Yeah.
I can see the opposite would happen. It will give builders a competitive advantage, as you say, a marketing tool.
Yeah. So if you want, some of the builders here in Falmouth say what they would like is uniformity in the building codes, meaning as they go from town to town, because they don't build only in one town, most of them, that it would be pretty much the same everywhere.
Oh yes, Mashpee is a green community.
They are a green community, a stretch code town.
Right.
And the point of uniformity is, what builders have to comply with in Mashpee, if it could be the same as what they have to comply with in Falmouth and Bourne and other towns, then they don't have to waste their time learning a new set of regulations every time they build in a different town.
Right.
It's all there for them. So the point is, with 273 towns doing it, that's the new uniformity, the stretch code.
Yes, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It strikes me too that your career has not been in energy circles, and it's been in the academy, and yet as a private citizen, you have looked into this, and I suspect that you have a strong feeling about climate change, and you have probably have also seen examples of friends and neighbors who are building and living in energy efficient houses, and you see the difference.
Yes, it's a long story. It's somewhat the story of my life, I think, that even though I spent my career professionally and working wise in another field altogether, I've never had any experience, really direct hands-on experience in construction and design, architecture, anything like that. But having kind of a rough beginning in life, as I've come older and older, I've come to realize how much I love being here on this planet. I love being alive. I love being on this planet. I love everything about it. I'd like to do as much as I can to keep it going, to keep it healthy. And I have a worldview that sees the world that I live in as a living reality, a living reality that I and you and everyone is a part of. And our only life is being a part of the wider environmental system of life that we are a part of.
That really is quite a beautiful thought, that we should all be stewards of this wonderful, beautiful earth.
We're fighting against ourselves if we're not. I think if we think we can somehow put ourselves first and the environment, the life-sustaining environment in which we live and depend on second, I don't think that works. And I think that's part of the problem that we human beings have right now around this planet. We have got to come to grips with this global warming, climate disruption thing. So I admit, really into this.
Yes.
I'm personally invested in this stretch code and everything else we could do for energy efficiency and getting rid of greenhouse gas emissions. I think we got to hold on to the hope that we can slow down and eventually reverse global warming. What else can we do?
Yes, and do you suppose that there are some of our viewers might think, well, this is impossible because it demands a different, a shifting of a lifestyle, a total sort of like a paradigm shift into something unfamiliar. But talk about that that what you have seen in Colorado, that
yeah.
seems to me quite possible, not difficult at all.
Oh, yes. Barbara, you and I were talking earlier about this community that I visit in Colorado. Happens to be in the same town where my son lives, so my wife and I were visiting our son and grandchildren there. It's a brand new neighborhood. It's a mini community. It has a lot of houses, townhomes, and other kinds of houses, small apartment buildings, which are going to be occupied as condominium units, those apartments in those buildings. And the entire community is net zero energy as far as fossil fuel goes. And the first step, I guess, in creating that community has been to achieve energy efficiency. Only later in the design, later in a kind of a logical sense, not a chronological sense, but in a secondary sense, is there an addition of renewable energy, solar panels on the rooftops of all the homes, all the businesses, all the shops. There's also the use of geothermal energy there, so that since they're building the whole community at once, they could afford to take advantage of economies of scale.
Oh, yes.
So they put tubes 7 feet under the ground that they can circulate air and water liquid in. I say liquid because it's not just water, it's got some things added to it so it doesn't freeze up and doesn't change in the wrong ways. But you can draw a tremendous amount of temperature comfort from the steady temperature that exists 7 feet below the surface. And you can bring that up and use it to heat your homes, or you can bring it up to cool your homes and your business shops and stores in the summertime. So they're using the sun from above, they're using the heat of the earth from below, they're using appliances inside that are the most efficient appliances that will use the least amount of energy. I took a tour of the whole community with the engineer developer. He's from Austria, and he was telling us, my son and I did the tour, he was showing us the appliances and the dryer. None of the dryers vent to the outside.
Really?
And he says they don't do that in Europe. They don't vent to the outside. They take that heated air from the dryer through a ductwork and use that in proximity to air that's coming into the house to transfer the heat from that to the air that will come in during the winter time.
Doesn't that
warm the house.
Makes perfect sense, right?
Why waste it?
Right.
Yeah, you've heated it up, and why just pump it out into the air? You can when you can use it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So all of this is happening now, and so we want Falmouth then to also get on board, and I will wish that you will have good luck in seeing that town meeting members pass Article 18, which will require Falmouth to adopt the stretch code and become a green community.
Yeah, I hope so.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here and telling us about your article. And I want to thank viewers for tuning in. Thank you, and we'll see you again very soon on the next program. Thank you.
All right.